Morning everyone, hope you're all well. Heading into London today, a little bit of a different day and quite a significant day, especially for the Bangbola family. Today the petition, 112,000 signatures are being presented to Downing Street, and well, it's quite an interesting time actually, what with Liz Truss resigning yesterday. But we're heading in, going to meet at College Green. Hopefully we're going to catch up with a few of the people that are involved with the campaign, and really just to give us an insight. For those that aren't aware, Zane Bangbola was a 7-year-old boy that sadly passed away during the flooding incidents that happened down in Chertsey. But let's see what information we get and what comes out of today's visit. So how did I become involved with the Zane Bangbola and the Bangbola family? Well, in 2015 there was a project to remediate the house following the tragic events of the flooding in 2014, and I was appointed through the company that I was working for at the time to install the gas protection measures. Now, as you can imagine, that could have been, well, it was a really daunting time to be involved. So that's why I felt it was important to come along and see and hear and be part of this continued story.
Morning. And welcome to Stand and Deliver. Our gathering is to stand for 7-year-old Zane Bangbola and be his voice. And the delivery part is the delivery of 117,000 signature petition to the Prime Minister, which we will all be able to take to Downing Street. For those that aren't aware, my name is Kye Bangbola, and this is Nicole, Zane's mummy. We are honoured to have speakers and all of you by our side today. Together, we walk shoulder to shoulder in the call for truth. My main concern today is to unite everyone to the simple call for truth and justice. The campaign is cross-party, cross-people, and will have an outcome that protects all of us from toxic landfill, flooding, and injustice. The Right Honourable Sir Keir Starmer, who has been a powerful advocate in pressing for truth for Zane, sends his apologies on this occasion. Sir Keir has spoken many times in support of Zane. The message that he has sent to us today is, please note, we support both you and your campaign for Zane, and we would like an inquiry as well as an independent panel inquiry. Zane is in the Labour Party manifesto as one of the greatest injustices of our time. But this is more than a message from Sir Keir. It also encourages government to get on the right side of history. Now, I'm the second of two speeches in terms of I'm going to outline the purpose and why we're here. What institutions can do when they turn on you. What we all agree is the inquest for Zane was a sham. Legal representation, denied. Jury, denied. Human rights investigations, denied. Evidence, denied. Data, witnesses, facts, denied. Victims, scapegoated and blamed. Government. If this sham had happened to one of your children, there would be action, not lies. Because it wasn't, it looks as though you just don't care about Zane. Well, 117,000 people and many more do care, and they send you this message today. The 21st of October used to be a day of celebration in our household. It would have been Zane's 16th birthday today. It's not, because Zane was killed when Nerve Agent entered our home. I ask that you let us honour Zane with a minute's silence. Zane Bangbola, the child denied truth and justice. We shall now hear from Matt Rack, General Secretary of the Fire Brigade Union, who stood up for truth on behalf of the fire service members. What you hear from Matt is direct from the horse's mouth, so please listen carefully. And those firefighters that were present on that fatal night, and those that are here with us in support today from across the country, that stand in solidarity with us, we thank you all. And an applause, please. Our warmest welcome to Matt Rack.
Well, good morning, everyone, and on behalf of the Fire Brigades Union, I thank everyone for attending. And Kye's right, there are FBU members here from across the country because Zane's story has been told at our conference. We discuss issues relating to the terms and conditions of firefighters, but we also have a much wider responsibility. We've always taken our role in terms of public safety seriously, but also in terms of wider campaigns for justice. So Zane's story has been told to FBU members from across the country, and that's reflected in the support that I hope we can demonstrate here and in the future. On behalf of the union, I wanted to start by saying something about paying tribute to Zane's family, I think, who have shown an absolutely remarkable level of dignity, but also determination, because I think one thing that we find when we begin to ask questions sometimes is that it takes determination to see those questions through and to get to the answers. And in this case, as has been set out, there are questions which need to be answered which have not been answered. And how can we make changes? How can we make changes in relation to safety unless those demands for an inquiry are addressed? As a union, we have our own experiences of this, which I think colour our attitude to Zane's campaign. We deal with serious and risky incidents, as I'm sure everyone is aware. Our members attended this incident. Our members took evidence at this incident. Our members have evidence which is relevant to this case. And there is therefore a frustration that those questions have not been adequately addressed. But we found exactly the same experience in relation to other cases in our own history, which may be sadly when firefighters themselves are injured or killed at incidents. We find that the promises that they've been made, that they'll be looked after, actually sometimes sadly are not realised, and it takes struggle, it takes legal action, it takes other action to win justice in those circumstances. And that's why we have an experience in relation to dealing with inquiries and inquests. Most recently, on a national scale, the Grenfell inquiry, which again I think highlights some remarkable facts, staggering facts about the attitude to safety in this society. And the things, the realities that have been exposed in the Grenfell inquiry should be a shock, should be a wake-up call to people across the political spectrum. Sadly, they're not a huge shock to us in the Fire Brigades Union. And the question is, why, in that case, does it take 5, 6, 7 years to even ask the right questions before we begin to see any change? So it does require that level of determination. And I want to say on behalf of the Fire Brigades Union to Kye and to Nicole that the Fire Brigades Union will be here for as long as it takes. We stand side by side with you. support that you want, campaign support that you want, financial support that you want, political support you want, legal support you want, this union stands with you to provide that. And on behalf of firefighters across the country, we send our solidarity and support. Let's carry on with this campaign. Thanks very much.
May I now introduce you to Baroness Natelie Bennett, former leader of the Green Party. She has written articles calling for change and exposing the fundamental abuses in Zane's case. Baroness Bennett leads the call for Zane's law. Similar legislation is emerging in other parts of the world, protecting communities from the hazards of landfill and flooding. Let us welcome Baroness Natelie Bennett.
Thank you very much, Kye, and thank you to many familiar faces and some new faces who I see here today. I think I became involved with the campaign for truth about Zane back in 2016, and I don't think I could have imagined then, I fear I'm now a rather more cynical human being, that we would get to 2022, what would have been Zane's 16th birthday, to still be calling for the full examination and exposure of what everybody, including, and I have to pay tribute to the FBU and Matt for all of the work they've done. You know, the evidence is there, they are the experts, they're the people who have the evidence, and what we have seen is a massive cover-up. And here we are, 8 years on, still fighting that cover-up. But I have a positive phrase that I often focus on, and I like to always focus on hope. And I've been saying since then, 2016 and even earlier, that the future of politics doesn't look like the past. And today of all days, that is more obviously true than ever before. One of the last things that Liz Truss will be doing, at least formally, is taking, last things doing as Prime Minister, is taking delivery of this petition. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing for Liz Truss to do something good and call for action today? So we'll very shortly be marching up there, and she will have that opportunity. We're giving her that opportunity. And by doing politics today, getting involved in this campaign, you're all doing that. But I do want to also take a moment to focus, as Kye introduced, on the idea of Zane's law. Because we don't want to terrify people, we don't want people to not be able to sleep at night. But the practical reality is, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of similar sites to that claimed Zane's life up and down the country that right this moment today threaten other people, other communities. And the history of this goes back to 1974, when we actually, a good thing, I'm not going to be political about this, when under the auspices of the EU we brought in controls of landfill sites. I'll just park that over there. We brought in those laws and lots of landfill sites were closed and literally hidden away. And we then had laws passed that said that local councils would have both the right and the responsibility to check on those, this is in the 1980s, to keep an eye on those, to force developers who were thinking of building housing near them or even horrifically on them, to actually check out and make sure it was safe. Those laws were passed, but then the developers started to lobby, and they had a government that wanted to listen to developers, and they took those laws away. So what I've already done once, and I'm going to keep doing, is every time there's before the House of Lords a planning bill or a bill that's related to this regarding the environment, I will bring in amendments to restore those powers for local government. And build in resources that the local government needs, so we can check every inch of this land that needs to be checked, so everyone can know they're safe and no one is at risk of Zane's fate. That's what we need to do, is bring in Zane's law. And I think everyone will join me in calling for Zane's law. So today, with Kye and Nicole, we mourn, we remember, we demand justice, truth for Zane, but we also demand safety for everyone in this country. And just one final thought. Over in the House of Lords chamber, which is just over the road over there, last week I had a chance to look a Treasury Minister in the eye, and I jumped up and before the Local Lord the Minister sits down, as the phrase, and said, "Will you acknowledge that public health is a government, a Treasury responsibility?" It's a very blunt question, carefully phrased, and he really had no alternative but to answer, "Yes, I acknowledge public health is a responsibility of the Treasury." Let's remember that in the days, weeks, months ahead. But of course, public health is a Treasury responsibility. He acknowledged that. But of course, what he then said is, "Oh, but the government have lots of responsibilities and and only really limited resources." So we need to change our politics. And the way we're going to change our politics is by people getting involved and engaged. And that's what you're all doing today by doing politics. So thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for everything you've done. And I know this campaign will go on, continue, fight until we win and get truth about Zane. Thank you.
I give you the Honourable Stephen Reid MP, Shadow Justice Minister.
Thank you so much, Kye. Can I first of all just say what a humbling experience it is to stand alongside you and Nicole as Kye's parents, and to see with real awe how you have turned such a horrific, grotesque injustice and personal tragedy into this campaign for truth and justice for everyone. It's simply inspiring, and I just want to acknowledge what you've done, and I'm sure we all do. Today would have been Zane's 16th birthday, but he never lived to see it because he died aged just 7. And he deserves the justice, his family deserves the justice, his friends deserve the justice of knowing the true cause of why he died. There are real concerns raised by the firefighters who were first there on the scene, the family and many others, about what really killed Zane and the link between the poisons in landfill sites, previously a military testing site, carried by the floodwaters into the family's home and killing your son and causing such pain and such damage to your whole family. You deserve the truth. We all deserve the truth, and the only way we can get that truth is through a fully independent panel inquiry, and I support 100% your call for that inquiry. And if the Labour Party wins the next general election, and I hope it will, and I am appointed the Lord Chancellor and Secretary of State for Justice, I will call that inquiry and set it up so that we can deliver the justice that you need and that you deserve. At Labour Party conference this year, and you came along and sat in the audience while I said it, we announced that the next Labour government will introduce a Hillsborough law. And the point of the Hillsborough law is to expose failure by the state and deliver justice for victims. It is a very simple proposition. It is a common sense proposition, but it is not something that currently exists. The Hillsborough families have been left to fight for 30 years for justice, because when that horrific tragedy occurred and so many people were killed on that day, instead of supporting the families to find out what had gone wrong, there was a cover-up. there was a cover-up that tried to conceal what had really happened, and beyond that they sought to abuse and denigrate the memories of those who had died. It was grotesque. There is no other word for it. And the things that needed to happen are that there needs to be an equality of arms. When there is major state failing, then the victims deserve the same rights to legal representation as the state agencies that were responsible for the failure in the first place. And that is not just a matter of justice, although justice for victims should always be our priority and our concern. It's also a matter of preventing failure from happening again. Because if we cover up failure, we are condemned to repeat it again, and others will suffer. If we shine a light on failure, we can learn and we can prevent it happening again. And that is what we need to be doing, and that is what this campaign for Zane is all about. Now, as a constituency MP in Croydon North, I took to Parliament a law called Shenny's Law. And we got it through Parliament in the end. And what that law sought to do was to end the use of abusive forms of restraint against people with mental ill health that at its most extreme end results in the death of far too many people in mental health custody. But because of discrimination in the system, very, very many of those people who die will be young black men because of unconscious bias and assumptions about young black men, psychosis, drugs and violence. It leads to death if we do not shine a light on these practices. We got Shenny's law through Parliament. Let's get Zane's law through Parliament in exactly the same way. This campaign demands justice for Zane, and that is a moral necessity. But it's bigger than that. This campaign is about justice for everyone, and I am proud to stand here alongside you, Kye, representing not just myself, but our next Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and the Labour Party. We back you to the hilt, and we wish you every success.
This is to confirm my 100% support for Kye and Nicole as they deliver the petition to 10 Downing Street on the occasion of their son's 16th birthday, calling for full disclosure and an independent panel inquiry into the death of their son, Zane. It has always been clear to me, from the moment I first met them, that the Bangbola family have been victims of a serious injustice. How can a 7-year-old boy die in his own home, his dad left in a wheelchair, a home that had high readings of hydrogen cyanide, and there not be a full investigation into the circumstances as to how this happened? Kye and Nicole must have the truth about Zane. Natural justice demands it. Please, support Kye and Nicole, get behind the family, and let's all work together for the truth about Zane.
I'd now like to introduce you to Jeremy Corybn, who's going to say a few words. A great supporter of the Truth About Zane campaign for many years with his various shadow ministers. Jeremy Corybn.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here and showing your support for the campaign for justice for Zane. Thank you also to the Fire Brigades Union for being here, for providing us with a platform and doing what they always do, which is support communities looking for safety as their members do their best to protect us all from disaster, from fire, from flood and pollution. So thank you very much to the FBU for everything that you do. We held an event in Glasgow during COP26 in which we showed the film about Zane. We went into a long discussion about it all. Natalie and I were there, and people in the audience had not heard anything about this before. They came along out of interest, and it's horrific, whatever way you look at it. A home that was apparently safe is flooded, and high readings of hydrogen cyanide are detected, and one death follows that of Zane, and one person is seriously disabled for the rest of his life. So the family have been through the most unbelievable stress and grief. To lose a child is awful for everybody, but to lose a child in wholly preventable circumstances is even worse. And so the questions then are asked, how did that pollution take place? How did that poisoning take place? Was there a military dump alongside it where former chemical weapons had been dropped or deposited rather? And how many more sites are there around the country protected by Official Secrets Act, protected by the blanket cloak of the Department of Defence that doesn't want to talk about where they've placed their very, very dangerous waste anywhere around the country? And so in campaigning for Zane's Law, what we're doing is campaigning for the truth about the dangers that so many communities face and do not realise it. They do not know where this stuff is. They do not know where it's dropped. They do not know what watercourses it is polluting and what effect that will have. I don't want there ever to be another Zane death in this country. And that means we've got to open up. And as Steve quite rightly said, Hillsborough Law helps to bring public services and public representatives and politicians to account to make sure that information comes out. And so when we're here today, we're standing up for Zane. Should be a happy day for his 16th birthday. Think of all he could have achieved and done in his life had he not been taken from us at the age of 7. So when we go to Downing Street and take this letter in, Liz Truss we know isn't going to be there very long. She probably doesn't have a great deal to do over the next few days. So she could do one thing. She could do just this one thing. So the shortest ever prime ministership in history would at least have achieved something, and that is justice for Zane. So let's make sure that we put that to her and make that demand. But we're not going away on this. We will continue to walk and march for truth about Zane, but we'll also continue to walk and march for the Hillsborough Law and all the other things we need to do to make our communities safe. Environmental pollution, you stick something in the ground, think it's gone and gone away, it hasn't. It comes back to bite you. That's why we need seriously much tougher environmental regulations. And Natalie is quite right. It was pressure from developers that reduced the whole strength of the regulations about waste dumping and waste sites. Bring all that regulation back, but bring it back even stronger than it was before. Thank you very much.
Before you as Zane's grieving parents, and we wish to thank each and every one of you who have come today, who have spoken here, who have signed Zane's petition, and who have not crossed the road when they saw this horrific injustice. Little children should not be tucked up at night and fear they will not wake up in the morning. So much has been invested in today, into this petition. So many hours and miles we've walked around asking people to sign Zane's petition. So many times we have had to retell our heartbreak to strangers that listen to our cries. We deliver this petition as a cry for help, a cry for the truth, and a cry for an honest investigation into what happened to our son. Zane is not just a lie on a death certificate. No child was ever loved more, and we will die fighting if we have to. Sorry, some days are more painful than others. We will continue to fight until we undo the lies that dishonour our precious little boy, so he can finally rest in peace. Zane did not die accidentally. He was unlawfully killed, and the evidence is there. Zane died, and the authorities have lied. Thank you for allowing us to be Zane's voice today. Now we are going to follow this magnificent fire engine that's going to reverse into the main road, and we'll all tuck neatly behind it and march to number 10. Let's deliver the petition.
Let's march and rally. Thank you very much. Anyone can understand that has children the importance of securing the truth for those children. When one's home is infused with a deadly nerve agent like hydrogen cyanide as detected by the Fire Brigade, it's significant to your industry, and it's significant to the issues of flooding and landfill. And the message is thank you all for your support of Zane. Of course, this is nearly 9 years on. We need as much support as possible, and keep doing so. We'll get there together. We'll get the truth together.
We will. So what really struck home for me and following this case was when I was actually working on the project to remediate the house in Chertsey. Having to meet the family as part of the construction work. The family had a lot of questions to ask us about the protection measures we installed, but also, you know, following it through on a personal level, that I had a child at home who was, you know, just coming up to 7 years old in 2015, and the thought of, you know, putting them to bed one night and them not being there in the morning is just, it's horrifying. And I think that's where the injustice comes around, that the family didn't get the legal support to, you know, have representation on their side in this situation. So it was really, really tragic, and hence why I wanted to follow this up and hear the speakers today, hear the different outlooks from different people. And again, as Kye mentioned, it's cross-party, it's cross-industry as well. We should all be doing the right thing. So I think the day and the time spent here, you know, and following on the case, we will certainly keep abreast of what's going on, and hopefully the petition does, as the petition needs to, gets the inquest that they're looking for to bring closure. So it's been a pretty significant day today for the Zane Bangbola cause, and being here to follow it, report on it, let people know, you know, the ground gas issue is a massive one, and how developments are taking place and how they're being managed is certainly something with legislation that could potentially be passing through the government. There were some big hitters still in there, from the Green Party, former leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corybn. So all these people will be putting their weight, hopefully, behind for the right thing. That's what we're all about, doing the right thing, not just for the benefit, but for the right thing, for everybody and all our safety. That's what we do at the end of the day. So time to leave London now, and we'll hopefully catch up soon in happier times.